Welcome to the LPTV Broadcasters Association Podcast. LPTVBA is a nonprofit organization that champions the growth, innovation, and protection of LPTV, or as we prefer to call it, Local Power TV. Our board is made up of industry leaders who collaborate with technology innovators and policymakers to advance next-generation technologies, advocate for smart regulatory policies, and create new opportunities that deliver hyper-local impact. Through this podcast, we bring together industry professionals to discuss FCC developments, legislative and regulatory issues, emerging technologies, ATSC 1.0, ATSC 3.0, and 5G broadcast advancements, groundbreaking experiments, shaping the future of broadcasting, and the opportunities ahead for our industry. Thanks for listening and welcome to the conversation.
Hello. I am SuperFrank Copsidas, the founder and chairman of the LPTV Broadcasters Association. What do we call LPTV, Local Power TV? It's underrated, underestimated, and we're unstoppable. This is the first podcast. This is my opening words, and we'll be back in just a moment to talk about LPTV, what this means. Who better to speak to than my friend Bill Christian. We'll be right back.
I'm Shana Farr, Director of Membership for LPTVBA. If you believe in the future of low-power television, we invite you to join the LPTV Broadcasters Association. Your membership helps us advocate on your behalf in Washington, provide critical industry education, advance new technologies, and create opportunities that strengthen and grow our industry. To learn more and to join today, visit lptvba.org.
And welcome back to the first podcast of the LPTV Broadcasters Association. I'm SuperFrank, and with me is the one and only, the notorious Bill Christian, who is a legend in the LPTV world, maybe a legend in his own mind, but he's still a legend. And Bill, I have so many questions for you today.
I'm thinking I'm not going to answer any questions because I was thinking in that open, since this is the very first podcast of this nature, it might make more sense for me to just ask you a couple questions about the group in general, and certainly to talk a little bit more about what you said about the HC2 thing. So if you don't mind, let me just ask you a couple things about, LPTVABA, and we'll see where it goes. Okay?
Oh, okay. Sure.
So there's 5,000 something low power stations in America, and LPTVBA represents them. So can you talk about what that means, what you do for them, the Washington thing, what the difference between full power and low power TV is?
Sure. So we have 1,700 full power stations, meaning 15 kW or more in power, actually above 15,000 watts in power. And low power, for the most part, 99%, is 15,000 watts or under. So there are 1,700 full power stations in the US, and there are approximately 5,300 low power. However, we're about to get joined with a lot more because there were 2,300 applications submitted to the FCC, not all for new stations, some for modifications of existing, but still, there are going to be thousands, over 1,000 new stations joining the ranks of LPTV. So that's really exciting insofar as the future of LPTV. Now, what is the future of LPTV? That is the question.
And you are the founder and chairman of the board of this association. So
Yeah.
that involves going to DC. I mean, you have frequently been into Washington to go in front of members of Congress and certainly the FCC. They take you all the time. And so talk about that relationship and what LPTVBA can do for its members in Washington.
So for our members, we are definitely, Mike Gravino, rest in peace, and what a wonderful man for LPTV, a champion. And he'd go through the halls of Congress and the FCC screaming at everybody. I don't scream at everybody. I go through and I talk, but I also follow in his footsteps and everything he laid down. So some of the things we've done in the past 2 years is we have been asking the FCC to allow us to change channels, to move more than 30 miles, and to have a window for new applications.
And you've had
All
great
three
success
of
with
those.
that. Yeah.
All three of those have
Yeah.
happened. So
So that's
that's
a win.
really good news. And it's a matter of going in and talking reasonably and why, and keep poking. In Congress, that's a little different story. I am a registered lobbyist, which means I can walk the halls and I can lobby them. But unless we're walking in there with big checks, there's not a lot to say. It's unfortunately, but we can get the word out to a certain extent. But are they truly interested in what we have to say? Not really. The people they're interested in hearing from is not me, it's their constituents. So when we say to LPTV owners and operators, please get in touch with your congressman, that has more weight than anything else.
And I mean, low power TV, some of us have been involved in it for a long, long time. They say the easiest way to make a small fortune in low power TV is to start with a large
big
fortune.
One.
And this is where this group can be very, very valuable to its members, because you're supplying information. You've got a phone line that's open to these guys all the time. You hear from big operators and small operators, and there's a lot of disadvantages. There's no cable carriage for this industry, so it's all over the air. It's definitely more local
carriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think as a whole, we're all looking for what's the next big thing. Where does it go? And there is a divergence between the full power stations and the low power. But let's talk for a minute about localism. You've worked for a couple of years trying to change the name of low power TV, which has kind of a stigma to it, which is unfair.
We haven't been able to get.
And trying to change it to local power TV. There's a bunch of different initiatives going on. We talked about our friend Scott Centers has done some interesting thing with students. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing around the country.
Yeah, I speak to probably half dozen members a week and excluding the board, but members from big companies and individual operators. And it's really interesting to see where people want to go. But I've had a couple discussions since NAB about local involvement. And what I really admire about what Scott has done in Alabama is get high schools really involved in broadcasting and news. And so you watch his broadcasts. Are they like the 6 o'clock news? God, no. They're kids doing it, but they're kids doing it. That's the big thing. They're interested. They have a passion. And he doesn't just have one or two kids. It's a lot of kids out there who are covering sports, who are covering news, who are covering the community and America 250. So what he is doing is really energizing a whole new generation to production and linear TV. So what does that mean for linear TV too? So this is where it gets more and more interesting to me, where linear TV is dying unless you're live sports, news, religious, or a niche programming, for example, Korean programming or something like that for a niche audience. That does well. But other than that, nobody wants to make an appointment to see Gilligan's Island reruns if you're under 60, 65, right? One of the very interesting things I learned this year over in Europe is TDF, which is the French broadcaster. They have started a channel where they're doing very short form programming, 3 to 15 minutes in length. And they're finding an under 25 crowd, loving it, and the audience is growing. It's brand new. It's got to grow. It's got to have time to find its footing. But I find that one of the most interesting things going on. Put that along with what Scott is doing with the local, and all of a sudden, you've got an interesting LPTV station. Now, when that gets on a phone, it'll pick up steam a lot more because it's something they want to watch. So I guess you also get into the question of why do they want to watch a linear stream? So with all the on demand, well, on demand is like going into a restaurant, Bill, and saying, we don't have a menu. We'll make whatever you want. And that's such an overwhelming choice that you go, well, what's your special? Everything. Well, can you do? Yes. And that's what on demand has become. It's so vast, your choices, that people don't want to make all these choices. So having something curated in the forms you like to see can gain traction.
And LPTV is the perfect spot for this because it isn't a cookie cutter industry. There's a whole lot of moms and pops out there struggling or working hard to create their own thing in their own community. And it seems like more and more the big, the full power, big four, big five TV groups, it's all cookie cutter, the same. I got to do this. I've got to make my bank payments. Whereas there's a lot of creativity in this space, and that's what you're talking about.
What I don't understand is if you watch the three major news networks or three major networks nightly news, they carry the same stories, the same 12 stories.
So let me switch. You mentioned stuff going on in Europe. We hear rumors that United Kingdom is threatening or talking again about shutting down over-the-air TV altogether. What do you know about that? What do you think about that?
I read it for the first time last week. I have to say, I'm surprised and not surprised. So the UK tends to look at things in very tiny boxes. So they would look at broadcast, over-the-air broadcast, in that box solely as over-the-air linear broadcast. But the other things they can do with that broadcast spectrum are other boxes. So it isn't that they get rid of over-the-air broadcasting. They might stop the linear programming of over-the-air TV. But the UK has been working on some of its own solutions for 5G broadcast, and not true 5G broadcast. They're off on their own path. The BBC has been working on it. I have no idea where they stand.
Back in the United States, you mentioned earlier, there are some 2,300 or so applications for new or major modifications of stations that started on March 19th. It appears that there's a trickle going through of, I think there are around 130 or so applications have been moved to the next step, which is to go on public notice. What are you hearing about all these applications and the process from the FCC? Seems like it's going to take a long time for them to get through these. And these are the easy ones, right? Before there's the MX.
I think there are a couple things going on. Number one, the FCC attorneys in the media division are pretty busy with the ABC renewals and Bridge News early renewals, and also what is content, what is public service, what is local TV. There are a lot of things that the current administration and Chairman Carr have put on the priority boards. So I think your legal division within the Media Bureau and the FCC is pretty tied up right now. So where do these applications fall in the priority chain? Pretty low. And I think they're going to move slowly only because of manpower. And also, when things like that happen, they tend to fall to the newest attorneys who've come in, who have to learn the system, which slows it down that much more. So nothing against them. It just takes a while for this to happen.
You've been watching the FCC and visiting the FCC for quite a while now. There's a whole new bunch of people there and a whole new maybe different focus or attitude. Tell us what you're seeing out of the FCC right now.
The new people, David Brown is a great guy. He listens, and I think he's a positive head of the Video Media Bureau for what we need at this point in time. Now, Erin Boone was the acting chief of the Media Bureau. She's moved out of that position back up to Chairman Carr's office, where she's now deputy chief of staff. And Alex has come in as the new chief of the Media Bureau. I have not met Alex, but I will shortly. One of the other things we're doing at LPTVBA that hasn't been announced, but stand by, here's a teaser. We're coming out with something, a solution for LPTV for ATSC 3.0. So as much as people say we're not interested in it, we are. And we're coming up with a solution for our members.
Great. Any final thoughts you want to say about, you said you're very optimistic about the future of low power TV. As an owner of some stations myself, that's encouraging to hear.
LPTVBA as an organization supports any format, ATSC 1.0, 3.0, and 5G broadcast, and anything else that might come up. So that's number one. It's giving those options to our members to decide what is right for their community and a business plan where they can survive.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for all that you do to support local TV nationwide.
And it's nice being interviewed. Thank you.
Like us and subscribe, George.
That's right. Subscribe below.
Thank you for listening to the LPTV Broadcasters Association Podcast. If you have any questions or comments about this conversation, please email podcast@lptvba.org. And to learn more about our organization and join today, visit lptvba.org.